On Saturday, the 31st of July 2021, I attended the Limerick City Rally for Freedom. I had been notified of the event by a friend and messenger who invited me to attend, and even though I become cynical about the effectiveness of such protests, I decided to go along anyway to see what I could see. I had attended anti-lockdown protests in the city centre before, and I wasn't convinced that they could have any effect on changing the government's mind or contribute to winning back our liberties. So, as with previous occasions, I attended this event as a spectator, not as a participant. I arrived at Bedford Row just as the first speaker began his speech and just as the Gardaí were taking up their positions. There was a visible Garda presence on the day, and they had positioned themselves at a comfortable distance to observe proceedings. It wasn't long before I was made aware of their intentions.
It doesn't matter, he still has a platform, whether you know what you're talking about or not.
It was great to overhear the Garda defend freedom of speech, and I should point out that the Garda's use of the word boy was not derogatory. It's just how Cork people speak, boy. However, it must be remembered that the Gardaí are a tool of the state, and their job is to enforce the law. So the same Garda that defended freedom of speech today could be arresting someone tomorrow for expressing their opinions online if someone else reports those opinions to them as hate speech. Well, there was nothing that could be construed as hate speech uttered by any of the speakers. Here's a brief account of who spoke at Bedford Row.
Fair play for everybody coming out. Well done, each and every single one of you, you know. Because it really is the very few that will wake up the very many. And without you, we really would be lost, you know. And that's why we can't lose hope, because we need each other at these meetings. And we really have to understand the fake news media. And that's what me and myself is here today personally. Is that RTE is the virus.
Yeah. Am I standing up here there as well?
Hey, how are you doing? You well? I'm going to start off by telling you a joke about COVID-19. Do you know what? I'm not actually going to bother, because 99.98% of you won't get it. So, yeah, the scam's still trucking on. Actually, just before I came out, I was listening to Max Egan. Excellent. I had him on my channel on YouTube, James Collins Ireland, before. Of course, the techno rats took it down within 24 hours. There was too much truth on it. But he said, it's gas, you've got these healthy people that are going to test centres to find out if they're sick. So he said it makes about as much sense as going to your local graveyard to see if you're dead or not, Chet. Okay, he's going to do something that's fantastic. I just nearly think I was running the show here. Thanks, lad.
1 second. So this is what this is about. This is a free speech platform. This is what this is. If anybody asks you, what's this? It's a free speech platform. So anyone can speak, even the opposition. We're even prepared to have a debate. And anybody, like this man here, we don't know him at all, he's a Limerick man, he wants 5 minutes. So we're giving him 5 minutes. He's going to sing a song for us. There are no groups behind this. This is people-based. And hang around to about 3 or just after 3. If
bet my life in the last words long. Dream the dream by the old canal. Pick it up. I kiss my girl by the factory wall. Dirty old town, the dirty old town.
Guys, the first thing I want to say here today, an Irish awakening is not imminent, but it is inevitable. It is inevitable because it is coming to every single person's doorsteps here. Every Gardaí on the street corner, everybody in their masks, everybody who is going in avoidance mode. You cannot stop what is coming on this island. We're in a state of psychological warfare at the moment. And only the blessed few, we are actually blessed to be awake for this. And sometimes it feels like an affliction because of the scale of the social ostracization that comes with it. But we are the leaders of this. Yes.
and it's a great honour and a great privilege that you would ask me down here to speak today, so thank you very much. And before I start, I want to congratulate each and every one of you here today. You and everybody else in this country has been inflicted with the greatest campaign of propaganda and fear over the last 18 months. And still, you people are here today and you have not succumbed to it.
People gonna die now. It's scary now. People gonna die from poverty, cause everything's been shut down. I'm not crazy. Politicians lie, they lose to you.
My story is that I'm a mother of one. I work in healthcare. I have been ridiculed in my own parish for speaking out about the truth. I've also been disciplined by my work for what I've been saying, for counteracting what they have been pushing for the last 18 months. Now I could have I'm risking my job and my livelihood, but I can't keep silent anymore since January. Because what I'm seeing is they're now going after our kids, and that is not going to happen.
So today I wanted to counter that narrative that our elected officials seem to have let perpetrate in our society, and that is that the unvaccinated are a threat to the vaccinated. So I want to counter that, because that is a very pernicious statement to make. That is a deadly, dangerous statement to make. That is an incitement to hatred. That is an incitement to violence.
Right, we're going to go on a march. We need the Limerick girls, where are they? Michelle, Martina, and all them, to get behind the banner. They're going to lead the way. Limerick is a town where a treaty was signed. And history knows that treaty was dishonoured. And after that treaty, penal laws were brought into Ireland. So this time, we're not going to enter a treaty with NEFIT that brings penal laws into Ireland where people are discriminated against. It's wrong. It's wholly wrong.
The honesty and sincerity of all the speakers was apparent, and their concerns were genuine and legitimate. Those assembled then proceeded to march from Bedford Road to Artis Quay Park, taking the long way round to the city. The numbers grew as shoppers and passers-by joined in the march.
When your child is dead, too late. Start fighting. Start reading up on actual facts. Ignore RTE. They are the virus. Liars. Liars. Turning family, friends and everyone against each other. That's what they want. Are we going to give them that? No! No desegregation!
No species in the animal kingdom would allow their offspring to be placed in danger to protect the herd, and the Irish mammy is no exception. There were more speakers to be heard at Arthur's Quay Park. Dr. Stephen Manning gave an excellent talk on criminality in the Irish courts. He had copies of his book for sale. I didn't buy one because I already got a copy from Santa last Christmas. It's a very interesting read. I'll leave a link in the description for those of you that might want a copy. Dr. Anne McCloskey came all the way from Derry to speak. She's a dynamo of a woman. I know Anne from years ago when we were both on the National Executive of the Irish National Congress, and when it comes to integrity and honesty, she never lost it. She came out of retirement to help with the pandemic and has recently been suspended for speaking out about vaccine injuries. It was great to catch up with her after all these years. Indeed, I met many people that I hadn't seen in years, and it felt good to know that they were on the same page as me. The highlight of the day for me was a performance by Limerick's own Siobhan O'Brien. My wife and I used to go to her gigs back in the 90s.
Infiltrate their minds, catch them when they're young, control them, you're taking us off the land. But it's alright, cause we'll get jobs in packaging. Mumbo jumbo, blah blah blah, you think that we think that that means something. You're on to say to us, blah blah blah.
Mumbo Jumbo Blah 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 is actually a local classic from 1993. As we were all waiting for Siobhan to serenade us, David O'Reilly spotted me and gave me a shout out.
To go, Siobhan O'Brien, and we needed her all day, but we had to wait till now to get her. So I wanted to say there's a great cameraman out here from Limerick too, and he did some amazing work on the Sacred Heart, the Sacred Heart challenge there with the mass and everything. He's not a man who blows his trumpet, but you have some great people here in Limerick. That's Karl O'Brien there, Karl McCarthy, who just say a Lies video. Fair play to you, and just a good round of applause for you there.
The video that David referred to is Lies, the hypocrisy and mendacities of Councillor Elisa O'Donovan, and it continues to be blocked in Ireland on YouTube because of a false defamation claim. But it can still be viewed on BitChute, Odyssey and Rumble, in case you missed it. Links are in the description. I was delighted to be honoured with a shout out, but like David said, I don't like to blow my own trumpet. This is because most of the work that I do as a community activist is not done for publicity or for self-promotion. It is done to give practical help to people in their dealings with the council and other state agencies. I may not like to blow my own trumpet, but I have been banging the drum for human rights for over a decade now. If the COVID pass is successfully implemented, then it will be here to stay, and inevitably it will be extended to other aspects of our lives. This insidious system has the potential to morph into a social credit system like the one used by the Chinese Communist Party, and the only way to prevent that from happening is if enough people and businesses refuse to implement it. Parents need to be active in their objections. Write to your children's school, let them know that you won't passively accept any such system of segregation. Barrister at Law, Tracey O'Mahony, has made some excellent templates for such letters. I'll leave a link to them in the description. This supposed medical intervention is looking more and more like a totalitarian dictatorship. All we have left now is our refusal. That sentiment was echoed by everyone I heard speak and everyone that I spoke to on the day. Despite the small turnout of about 200 people, I found it to be a very uplifting day, and I was glad that I had decided to attend. I hung around till the end, enjoying the banter and crack, but not everyone in Limerick was as enthused as I was about the event. So finally, after that lengthy prologue, we arrive at the subject matter of this video's title, those purveyors of hate and lies, the cowardly and anonymous anti-freedom ideologues of Limerick Against Fascism. This Facebook page is run by members of the far-left Socialist Party, which also runs the far-left Solidarity Party. They began their bout against the event from the safety of their middle-class suburban homes the day before, with a post trying to mock the free speech platform for not having well-known speakers, and falsely claiming that the speakers had been abusing health workers for the past 18 months. Some of the speakers are themselves health workers. They made another attempt on the morning of the event with a post that falsely claimed that the event organisers were Karl Cohalan and other well-known homophobic racist fascists. Karl Cohalan was not one of the organisers. The event was run by 5 Limerick women, and none of them are homophobic, racist fascists. They are daughters, mothers and grandmothers with legitimate concerns about the loss of our freedoms and the state's big push to give children the experimental jab. Karl Cohalan is a Limerick YouTuber. His channel is called James Collins Ireland, and Limerick Against Fascism make much about the fact that he doesn't use his own name, accusing him of cowardice. The fact is that many YouTubers don't use their real names. It's not unusual. I first met Karl in June 2020, and he introduced himself as Karl Cohalan and explained to me that he named his channel after 2 Irish patriots, James Stephens and Michael Collins. Karl is constantly a target for their hate. Here they are encouraging people to attack him on the street. While I'm on the subject, here's a shout out to some other Limerick YouTubers that don't use their real names. None of them are cowards, and just like Karl, their identities aren't exactly a secret. Limerick might have a big city attitude, but it's really a small town. Everybody knows everybody. So no prizes for telling me who this versatile and award-winning local filmmaker is. Nothing But Rippin' produces regular content, and just like James Collins Ireland, the opinions expressed are his own. Next up is Gombeen Official Music Channel. I know who these lads are, even though I've never actually met them. If you're looking for a soundtrack for the times we live in, then head on over and get rockin'. If video games, airsoft and comedy are more your thing, then check out The Wise Anunnaki. He doesn't like to show his face, but if you meet him around town filming, he will tell you his name and give you a card advertising his channel. He's a lovely fella. And last but not least, my good buddy and former frontman for those Limerick legends, the Celtic Crew, the YouTuber formerly known as Razor Sharp, until his thousands of subs were wiped and 10 years of videos were deleted just because he had what someone in YouTube considered to be a wrong opinion. So head on over to Groundshaker and sub up. Sub up to them all and tell them Caulfield sent you. Now, back to the Antifa clowns. They continued with their childish posts, this one mocking the poor attendance without showing the actual attendance, which was much bigger than their most recent effort in March, for which they had received free advertising beforehand on local radio. And they couldn't even do that properly. She only had one job. The state of them. They accuse Andy Heasman and Dara Flaherty of grifting because they were selling t-shirts to raise funds for their activities. Now, I don't support everything these lads have to say, but I do support their right to say it. And if people want to buy their t-shirts and help fund their nationwide roadshow, they can. Selling politically charged t-shirts is a common enough practice for street activists, and at least they weren't chugging buckets and begging for money for nothing like the Socialist Party and Solidarity do. Andy and Dara had something to sell, and with the price as low as €10 each, they sold like hotcakes. Sure, that's great value. I'll leave a link in the description. Of course, lacking any imagination, their next post once again mocks the attendance and claims to be taken from the official live stream. I don't know if that's true. There were a few people live streaming on the day, but the main live stream has over 4,000 views on Facebook. This image actually shows the crowd in Arthur's Quay Park towards the end of the event, when most of the crowd had dispersed and were sitting on the grass, the park benches and on the steps behind the camera to listen to the speeches. We don't hear from them again until later that night, when they posted yet another lie. Here they claim that some of their Antifa minions had successfully trolled the protest until the hard men moved in to intimidate. The post features yours truly, and the implication here is that I was the hard man that intimidated them. This is not the first time that I featured on their page, and I doubt that it will be the last, as their main admin seems to have an unhealthy obsession with me. Sorry love, I'm spoken for. This image is actually a screenshot from the live stream, and she must have watched all 4 hours of it in a desperate bid to find me. See what I mean about obsession? For the record, I did have a camera. It's in my hand. And seriously, I doubt that even Father Jack would look twice at her. The truth is that these Antifa minions didn't join the protest until the halfway mark, when it had reached Parnell Street, and I was running ahead of the protest to film it passing by at different junctions. Neither I nor anyone else attempted to intimidate these clowns. When they managed to get ahead of the protest at Thomas Street, the Freedom Marchers halted and let them walk ahead. Let's have a look at what really happened.
It's bad now.
Where are you fucking mad?
You see, they were so scared and intimidated that when they realised what had happened, they stopped and walked back towards the freedom marchers. Absolute clowns. These white privileged upper middle class brainwashed imbeciles just haven't got a clue. Masks are not mandatory outdoors. They followed us all the way to Arthur's Quay Park and everybody just ignored them. We may not agree with their anti-freedom beliefs and their stupid carry-on, but we do support their right to counter-protest. Naturally, none of the main Antifa Limerick lulas were there on the day. Apparently, they were all away on holidays. How very bourgeois. Most likely, they were actually at home in their pyjamas, doing what they do best, and that is trying to get others to do their dirty work for them. But not all of them stayed at home. One of their most loyal minions managed to get dressed and arrived in time for the end of the event. Meet Comrade Conor Rail, Limerick Antifa's main candid cameraman. He usually takes photos from a safe distance when the event is over and there are only a few people left. Well, on the day, he got quite a shock and didn't know what to do with himself. He seemed to be genuinely worried. I wonder what was going through his head. Oh, the fash, the fash, the fash! I'm surrounded by the fash! What'll I do, what'll I do, what'll I do? I better call HQ.
Hello, Limerick Socialist Party HQ? How may I direct your call?
It's Comrade Conor. Put me through to M, please. It's Code Brown.
Just a moment. Hi, hon. What's up, love?
I'm in Arthur's Quay Park as ordered, but I'm surrounded by the fash and can't tell friend from foe. I just saw a mixed-race lesbian couple applaud one of the speakers. I'm so confused that I can't find my way out. I need to be extracted.
Ah, Telpis. Mixed-race lesbian couples are notorious for their white supremacy.
They are?
They are now, hon. See if you can get a photo of them, and we'll put them up on Facebook and send hate their way.
I'm too afraid. I've just shit my pants. I need to be extracted.
All right, love. By the way, what do you think of my mock working-class Limerick accent? Good in it. You'd never know I'm a middle-class primary school teacher from Kerry, would ya?
I don't know. Just get me out of here. Code Brown! Code Brown!
Okay, hon. Comrade Bear is on his way.
5 minutes later.
Comrade Bear, thanks be to Trotsky you were here.
Never fear, Comrade Bear is here. My orders are to extract you and retreat to Starbucks, where we'll debrief you and cry into our soy lattes about the fash. You smell sexy. Is that a new cologne?
It's a Code Brown.
Maybe I could extract you back to my place for your debriefing and an insertion. What do you say?
Sounds good, hon. Now, admittedly, I'm not the best at lip reading, and it's especially hard to do when I can't see their lips. What do you think they said? Let me know in the comments below. All joking aside, these people really do target anyone they disagree with Facebook posts intended to inspire hatred and violence. And Conor, if you're watching, I'm sure you are a well-meaning lad, but if you have any sense, you'll part company with these people. A few days later, and they are posting more lies about the Freedom Rally, calling it a fascist demonstration, and falsely claiming that the Freedom Marchers were shouting abuse at people as we marched through the city chanting slogans such as "Resist, defy, we will not comply." They recount an incident that took place after the Freedom Rally where an 8-year-old girl was refused the use of toilets in Burger King by a member of staff because her father didn't have a COVID pass. Some of the attendees gave the staff a piece of their mind and nothing more. There was no violence or even the threat of violence, just some voices raised in righteous anger. According to Antifa Limerick, refusing a child the use of a toilet was just workers doing their job. But months earlier, they were targeting workers for doing their job, calling them scabs and fascists. So just to clarify, if you are doing a job that they don't like, then you're a scab and a fascist. But if you work for a capitalist multinational fast food franchise and you refuse a child the use of a toilet because her father doesn't have a COVID pass, then you are just doing your job, even though there is nothing in the draconian COVID laws to say that children of unvaccinated people must be refused the use of such facilities. Is that clear, comrades? Did I get that right? There was no fascist demonstration, and as David O'Reilly said time and time again, the rally was about freedom and the platform was a free speech platform. Anyone, even those with opposing views, were free to speak at the event if they wanted to debate.
But we don't debate with fascists,
would undoubtedly be the response from Limerick Against Fascism. However, the reason they don't debate with fascists is because you can't debate with fascists. That's because fascists don't debate. They silence all opposing voices and impose their will. There is no debate allowed. Does that sound familiar? As I stated earlier, the free speech platform is run by 5 Limerick women. I spoke to one of them recently.
So Michelle, you were one of 5 women that established a group there in Limerick. Do you want to tell me a little bit about that group and what it's for, when you set up and what it's about?
We were a group of women that got together last year. We were concerned about the lockdown measures. There's myself, Sharon, Martina, Anna Marie, Catherine. There's a good few of us. Actually, there's a wider group of us as well that are prepared to get involved in standing up against these tyrannical measures that we've been subjected to in this country, lockdown after lockdown, where we've seen businesses fail and our children being subjected to tyrannical measures like the masking at schools and so on. This was very concerning to us as women and as mothers, where we saw the eroding of our rights in front of our eyes, which was very concerning to us. And we decided that we would come together and encourage other people to come together to demonstrate against the measures that we felt were very draconian in their ilk, and we needed to let people know that this was not on, that we didn't agree, and that we had to come together to form an alliance against these measures. It was very important to us to do that. We're very committed to our communities and informing our community on health issues in general, and we're very concerned that our government is not concerned with our health at this time. For example, we've not received any information regarding vitamin D, vitamin C, getting out into the sun, hugging each other even, which was not allowed. You know, children were deprived of their grandparents during a very austere lockdown, which really has had detrimental effects on our communities. We're very concerned about our elderly that were put into isolation during this time, not allowed to see their grandchildren, children being masked up in schools, and just not seeing a normal situation. Very concerning to us.
And what kind of reception would you get out in the streets when you're out there? Are you there every week, or is it just some weeks? Or
we're not there every week. We don't get a great reception. Unfortunately, in Limerick, a lot of people are very brainwashed or are susceptible to the propaganda of the mask wearing, which we know we can produce study after study that shows mask wearing has absolutely no effect on viral protection or transmission and so on. We want to wake people up to the reality that this is not about a virus. This is more about control a virus, I call it, or convid, whatever. And it must be clear to people now that it's more about regulations and control of the people, and this is what concerns us, absolutely.
And is your group, is it connected to any political party or any political group?
Absolutely not. No, we're not connected to any political party. We are just concerned citizens, parents and grandparents that are really concerned for the future of the next generation that may not be even aware that they're having their rights stripped from them because of the indoctrination and the brainwashing that's going on and the propaganda within our media. Very concerning that we're not allowed to have another narrative. We're not allowed to question anything that's going on at the moment, and if you do question it, you're considered a right-wing conspiracy nut. It's very unfair that people like ourselves, middle of the road women just trying to get on with our lives, parents, that we're being labelled as this far right. We're not far right, we're right so far. We have pointed out the fact that the vaccine passport was coming down the road, and this is where we are now at the moment with segregation and discrimination in our society. You cannot partake in normal society unless you get your jab. That's very unfair. There are some of us who believe my body, my choice. Where did that go? We believe that we have the right to our bodily autonomy.
And what would you say to those people that do label you as far right and as fascist?
I always saw myself as a liberal lefty. You know, I always voted Labour, Socialist Workers' Party. I was a fully paid up member of the Labour Party in the UK. I worked heavily with the unions. I just think it's outrageous, just because we're standing up for our rights, that we should be labelled far right. To be conservative nowadays is to be far right. I don't know. It's very unfair. Absolutely.
There were no fascists in attendance at the Limerick Freedom Rally, just ordinary Irish people with legitimate concerns, and all the name-calling and lies being spread by Limerick Against Fascism won't change that fact. Of course, name-calling and spreading lies with the intention of inciting hatred and violence is not without its pitfalls, and the admins of Limerick Against Fascism are very worried that their page will be deleted by Facebook, as has happened to their pals in Ireland Against Fascism. So they set up a backup page. Laugh is a good name for them, because they certainly are a bad joke, and curiously enough, they describe themselves as a government service. Could that be a Freudian slip? Who knows? It's ironic that the same people that advocated for hate speech laws are now worried that they will be deleted for actual hate speech. You can't have your cake and eat it, lads. Also, it's interesting to note that the page seems to be imploding. When I first reported on Laugh 4 months ago in my video Whinging for the Machine, the Limerick Socialist Party, the page had 6 admins. And now it's down to 2 admins. Perhaps they left because they woke up to the lies and could no longer stomach being part of it. Of course, the biggest lie on Limerick Against Fascism's page is their name. Because if they were truly against fascism, then they would be with us in fighting against the creeping fascism of the COVID pass. They really should consider changing their name. There, fix it for them. I will be making a video unmasking and exposing the main people behind Limerick Against Fascism, but not before I finish my expose on their street photographer associate, Wally Cassidy. Production was temporarily halted to make this video, but will resume shortly, so be sure to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. You won't want to miss it. As I said at the beginning, I don't think that protests will have any effect on changing the government's mind. In Italy, they are burning their COVID passes.
Libertà! 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 Libertà!
Libertà! Libertà! No Green Pass! 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 No Green Pass!
And in France, some have taken a novel approach to protesting them with street picnics. People should remember that it wasn't protests that stopped the water charges. It was non-compliance. The majority of people refused to register with Irish Water and refused to pay when they were sent a bill. Unfortunately, it looks as if most people in Ireland are happy to go along with the COVID pass, and so you might ask, what's the point in protesting? My own experience of the Limerick Freedom Rally was that it was a great way to meet like-minded people. I reconnected with people I hadn't seen in years, and I've had several meetups since. Should Ireland and the rest of the Western world become more and more totalitarian under the pretext of protecting us all from a virus, then such protests will eventually be suppressed. So it is important to hold them while we still can, as they can be a focal point for meeting like-minded people. And from there, perhaps parallel societal structures can emerge. As the Academy of Ideas explains,
there are further steps that can be taken. Information that counters the propaganda should be spread as far and as wide as possible, for the truth is more powerful than the fiction and falsities peddled by the would-be totalitarian rulers, and so their success is in part contingent on their ability to censor the free flow of information. Another tactic is to use humor and ridicule to delegitimize the ruling elite, or as Mirlu explains, we must learn to treat the demagogue and aspirant dictators in our midst with the weapon of ridicule. The demagogue himself is almost incapable of humor of any sort, and if we treat him with humor, he will begin to collapse. A tactic recommended by Václav Havel, a political dissident under Soviet communist rule, who later became president of Czechoslovakia, is the construction of what are called parallel structures. A parallel structure is any form of organization, business, institution, technology, or creative pursuit that exists physically within a totalitarian society, yet morally outside of it. In communist Czechoslovakia, Havel noted that these parallel structures were more effective at combating totalitarianism than political action. Furthermore, when enough parallel structures are created, a second culture, or parallel society, spontaneously forms and functions as an enclave of freedom and sanity within a totalitarian world. Or as Havel explains in his book, The Power of the Powerless. What else are parallel structures than an area where a different life can be lived? A life that is in harmony with its own aims, and which in turn structures itself in harmony with those aims. What else are those initial attempts at social self-organization than the efforts of a certain part of society to rid itself of the self-sustaining aspects of totalitarianism, and thus, to extricate itself radically from its involvement in the totalitarian system? But above all else, what is required to prevent a full descent into the madness of totalitarianism is action by as many people as possible. For just as the ruling elite do not sit around passively, but instead take deliberate steps to increase their power, so too an active and concerted effort must be made to move the world back in the direction of freedom. This can be an immense challenge in a world falling prey to the delusions of totalitarianism, but as Thomas Paine noted, tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered. Yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph.
It certainly is an immense challenge to move the world back in the direction of freedom, especially with rampant censorship by social media giants. YouTube, or should I say, you can't say that tube, removed the original version of this video, and when I submitted an appeal, they promptly rejected it. Thankfully, there are emerging parallel structures in the form of free speech platforms that provide an alternative to the big tech giant, and the uncensored video can be viewed in full on BitChute, Odyssey, and Rumble. There is another freedom rally on in Limerick this Saturday, the 4th of September 2021 in Bedford Row at 2 p.m. Hope to see you there. You never know who you might meet. For my part, I will no longer sit around passively, and I will stop being a spectator and become a participant. I will give whatever help I can to the Limerick women that run the free speech platform. Until the next time, be seeing you.